Good morning, and welcome to the Mental Breakdown Morning Show. I'm Dr. Bernie Wilkinson.
I'm Dr. Richard Marshall.
And it's a glorious...
Very dark Friday.
Black Friday. November 25th. Actually, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but it is the fourth Friday of the month. Because we had that whole discussion yesterday. I was going back and I listened to yesterday's podcast, and I ended up fast forwarding through some of that early stuff because of my mistake. I didn't want to listen to my mistake from yesterday.
Okay.
But it's Black Friday, so I hope that everybody's out. There was much more traffic coming into the office early this morning than usual. But I hope that all of you who went out this morning that you made it back home safely, and I'm sure that there's going to be all kinds of news reports and stuff out, because every year it never fails that there's some type of conflict or fight or some ruckus.
I couldn't believe that people actually stay up all night last night on Thanksgiving night. I can't wait to get to bed.
Yeah.
By the time you cook the meal and eat and everything, the people actually stay up and go shopping at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight. Yeah. Stay up all night. And wow.
Yeah. Hey, dedicated to getting those deals. So
it's become a tradition, hasn't it?
It has. It has. You know, when I was growing up, the parents, primarily the moms, on Thanksgiving Day, after we had dinner and stuff, and because in our family we basically had Thanksgiving dinner for lunch. So we all met at my grandmother's house and had Thanksgiving lunch, and then all of us kids, we went out and we played and we had a good time for hours and hours, because afterwards, that's when the moms typically went shopping then.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they went shopping after Thanksgiving lunch.
See, my family never did that.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up north, and so Friday was a day off school. It had usually snowed on Thanksgiving Day, and so Friday was a day that we went out and played in the snow. Oh. You know, went sled riding and made snowmen and things, and it was a day we spent at home. And we would have leftovers, but in those years you couldn't eat meat on Friday if you were Catholic. So you would have these other meals on Friday, and then you'd dive into the turkey again on Saturday. Huh. There's never any shopping done. Yeah. I didn't know about Black Friday until I came to the South.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was introduced to it here.
But yeah, so they went, though it was Thanksgiving Day, was when all the sales and stuff seemed to happen. So
all the stores were open.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them. They opened later in the day, afternoon type of thing. So that's my memory anyways. But you know what? I was wrong about when Thanksgiving is.
No,
so
you were right about that.
Maybe my memory is wrong. But today, we're not talking about Thanksgiving today. We're not talking about Black Friday today. Over. We're talking today about the idea of Shabbat. And that is, well, you've mentioned it on previous podcasts, but this is a tradition that we get from our Jewish friends.
That's right.
Right? And so it's the idea, it begins at sundown, or when you see the first star on Friday night, right. and it lasts until the first star of Saturday night.
That's right. And the Christian tradition, well, it's Friday, and the tradition of Easter is born of this, when Jesus died, it was 3:00 in the afternoon. Well, they only had a couple of hours before, and you can't work from sundown, Friday to sundown Saturday. You can't do any work. The next time you can do anything is Sunday morning.
Right.
Okay. And so they hastily put the body into a cave, essentially, and said, "We'll come back Sunday because now we have to do Shabbos."
Right.
Okay. From now until Saturday morning. So we'll come back Sunday morning. That became the Easter tradition. Is when they got to the cave on Sunday, the body was gone. Hence the Christian tradition of Easter.
Oh.
Okay. So because you can't work, and it's a 24-hour period devoted to prayer, to family, to study, to thinking.
Right.
And I really liked the tradition. I was introduced to it years ago, and I think it's a very healthy tradition.
Right. And the reason that it comes into play during this, time when we're spending and focusing on relationships is because this is a time when, because you're not distracted by work and some of these other things, this is a time for resolving problems and resolving issues. And so you sort of get prepared to start the next week with a very clean slate because you've managed all the issues and conflicts and stuff from the week before.
That's right. In the Jewish faith, the Jewish traditions, you deal with your problems here and now. It's not in the afterlife that you can do what you want, but you have this afterlife. In the Jewish tradition, you deal with your problems today. And so what Shabbos does is it's a bridge and to the next week. So what you do is you take care, before you can sit for the Shabbos meal on Friday night, you have to solve whatever interpersonal problems you had during the week. So if you're arguing with one of your children, or you're arguing with a spouse, or you're arguing with a coworker, those differences have to be settled before you can sit down for this meal, because this meal is going to mark the beginning of the next week.
Right.
And so you deal with all of this week's problems. You do whatever you have to do to solve them. I was at a Shabbos dinner one night, and it was delayed a little bit, and suddenly the phone rang, and it was a colleague of our host, and said, "My wife is getting angry. It's time for us to sit, and I can't until we resolve our differences about this issue that happened at work." And so they got their problem solved, and then they could both have Shabbos dinner.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's a very healthy tradition. It forces you to rather than having these problems linger and fester and get worse, it forces you to resolve them before Friday night.
Right. Absolutely. And it's a great concept that we would certainly encourage all of us to practice.
Right.
Practice the idea of managing these or not allowing these conflicts to fester and to boil and last and persist from week to week,
and they worsen
because they will. And so because a lot of times what happens is we have a problem, and we get distracted with work during the week, and so we don't deal with those problems because we're at work for 8 to 10 hours a day, and so then there's just this time in the evening, and we avoid each other so that we don't have any so it's never resolved during the week, and then on the weekends we're busy going here and there, doing this and that, and so we don't resolve it then, and so these problems just persist.
That's right.
And so this is a great strategy for managing these, and so it doesn't allow it to continue.
What I did when I was sort of doing this thing, I really liked the idea. I would come home on Friday from my work, and I would leave everything in the car. I would leave my briefcase and my computer, and everything would be left in the car, so that I wouldn't go home and start working and plug in my computer and go on Facebook. Instead, this 24-hour period is a time for you to think about, and imagine this, because you don't have to be Jewish to do it, is you take time over this 24-hour period to reflect on your week and say, okay, what went well? What did I do well? What did I do poorly? What do I need to fix? How was I with my children? How was I with my spouse? How was I with coworkers? How was I with patients? And you think about all that and sort it all out. In order to do that, you can't be on your phone, you can't be on your computer, you can't be on Facebook. You have to stop and reflect. And so you use this time for reflection. And then it prepares you for the following week.
Right.
Okay. So what am I going to do next week to make sure I don't repeat these mistakes?
Right.
Okay. So then you get to, and we talk about that on our podcast all the time.
Right. I was going to say, we had a podcast not long ago where we were encouraging everyone to do that on Sunday nights, when you're preparing for the week ahead.
To stop everything else.
Yeah.
And it's almost a meditative state. If you spend a weekend or a Saturday with your Jewish brothers and sisters, it's almost a meditative state. Right? They take it very seriously.
Right. Yeah. So and I like the idea of doing this on Friday even more than on Sunday night, just because the weekend is a time to rest, reflect, and recoup for the.
And we've been saying that.
We've been saying it for a while.
Yeah.
And so to do all of this on a Friday night is great, because it cleans the slate so that you can have a restorative weekend with your loved ones and with your significant other, so that again you're rejuvenated and ready for the week ahead.
Right.
So Absolutely. Try to carve some time on Friday evening. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a long time. It doesn't have to be hours that you're dedicating to anything. It doesn't have to be anything overly formal or anything like that. It just has to be some time where you say, okay, so yesterday we talked about rules and expectations.
Right.
So, from now on, we're going to have the expectation that on Friday evenings, we're going to sit down and talk and resolve any issues that we have lingering from the week past, so that we can get it taken care of and be ready to move into the next week.
That's right. And again, depending on when you do your communicating, you can do it Friday night. Some people do it Saturday morning. They get up and have a very simple breakfast, and they use that time to reflect. But you have to take time to reflect. And I think these are wonderful traditions that these various religions have. Muslims stop 5 times a day. To pray. What a great idea. Yeah. You stop 5 times a day to meditate and think about yourself and think about something other than yourself. But it gives you pause. So there are good reasons for having these religious traditions.
Right.
I think Shabbos is a wonderful way to keep yourself and your relationships healthy. One of the things that, one of the traditions is that during the dinner, where we did it, the mother prayed. I think the mother or the father could do this. And you say a prayer over each of your children. And if you translate the prayer, it's roughly translated, I'm the luckiest person in the world to have you as a daughter.
Oh.
Whoa, imagine hearing that every Friday.
Wow.
You renew your relationships with the people closest to you. There's nothing more that I could want in my life than to have you as a child.
Wow.
I mean, and you do it 52 times a year. The holiest day of the Jewish calendar is Shabbos.
Yeah.
The only way it can be more important is if a high holiday falls on Shabbos.
Yeah.
But it's the holiest day of the year.
Right.
Not once a year, once a week.
Right.
Yeah. And you get this message, you give this message to your children.
Yeah.
It's a very, very healthy way to live.
It's fantastic. So we would encourage you to take that
start
on.
Those traditions.
Start the tradition. Call it what you want. If you don't want to call it,
and isn't the holiday time a perfect time to start these traditions?
I was just going to say that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the perfect time of year, especially as you're wrapping up this year and starting to plan for next year. Again, setting some of those expectations that this is just what we're going to start doing. We're going to start having these conversations on a weekly basis so that we can, improve our communication and resolve these issues so they don't continue. So, all right. Well, I think that's it for the week.
Wow, another week.
Yep. So
November's gone. We were talking about October.
Well,
we were just talking about where did October go?
Yeah.
November's gone.
Yeah, we just have a few days left of November, and then it will be the last month of the year. So we hope that you all have a wonderful day, had a safe Black Friday, because most of you will be listening to this after most of the festivities of the day. We'll call them festivities. So I hope you had a great, safe day today. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back Monday morning to talk a little bit more about other aspects of relationships and all. So next week is our second week of that focuses on relationships. Right. So, all right. Have a great one, and we'll see you Monday. All right.
Good day.
Bye-bye.